I want to know what our first guest is.
Gary Flinn.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Flynn's very own historian, Mr. Gary Flinn.
Yay, Gary!
Thank you, Mark. I brought along some images of Flint landmarks that ceased to exist by the 1960s, and they're in the order of which I'll be reading about these lost places. These will be included in my forthcoming book, which should be coming out in 2021, called Lost Flint.
Yeah.
Mainly about things that are not here anymore.
Great, great.
So the first lost place, lost to progress, is the Flint City Hall on Saginaw and 3rd Streets. In 1907, Flint voters approved construction of a new 2-story city hall with a basement, constructed with reinforced concrete, constructed with cut stone and brick with a tile roof that was considered to be fireproof. It replaced Flint's original city hall. Located at the corner of Saginaw and 3rd Streets, it was completed in 1909. It served the city for almost 50 years. There was a fire at that city hall in 1938, but 11 fire rigs saved the building, which mostly suffered smoke and water damage. It was torn down after the Flint Municipal Center was completed in 1958. Today, the McCree Courts and Human Services Center occupies the site that was built in 1965 as a Montgomery Ward department store. Now for the next lost place, again lost to progress, the Carnegie Public Library. The Flint Public Library dates back to 1851, when the Ladies Library Association was founded with Maria Smith Stockton, daughter of Flint founder Jacob Smith, as its first president. In 1884, it evolved into the Flint Public Library, operated by the Board of the Union School District of Flint, which was the forerunner of the Flint Board of Education. In 1904, it moved into the first building designed as a library at the northeast corner of Kersley and Clifford Streets, which was one of over 1,600 public libraries built that were funded by steel magnate Andrew Carnegie. But as Flint grew over the decades, the Carnegie Library became too small for the Flint Public Library's growing collection. With the development of the College and Cultural Center in the 1950s, the Flint Public Library's main location moved to a much larger facility in the then new Flint Cultural Center in 1958. The old Carnegie Library was mainly vacant for the next 2 years, but it did serve in 1960 as the local Democratic Party headquarters until the old library building was dismantled around 1960. The 1961 Polk Directory indicated that this library's address at 301 East Kersley Street ceased to exist. Today that site is at the heart of the University of Michigan Flint's downtown campus. Now for the next place, lost to progress, the YMCA on Kersley Street. While the Young Men's Christian Association, better known as the YMCA, or casually referred to as the Y, was founded in London, England in 1844 and spread to the United States in the 1850s, the YMCA's local Flint activities date back to 1879, when some interested citizens began Y programs. In 1913, Charles Stewart Mott was elected the first YMCA of Flint board president, and on December 13th of that year, the 4-story building at the corner of Kersley and Clifford, now Wallenberg Streets, first opened. Mott served as the Y's president until 1933. The Kersley Street location served as the Y's location until January 21st, 1962, when the present downtown YMCA officially opened at 411 East 3rd Street, taking up the whole block, which includes Stevens and East 2nd Streets, as well as Chavez Drive, which is the southbound I-475 service drive. On October 24, 1965, the Flint City Commission ordered the contractor to demolish the former YMCA to make way for a surface parking lot. Today the site is part of the University of Michigan Flint parking ramp on Kersley Street between Wallenberg and Harrison Streets, thanks to the YMCA of Greater Flint. Next door to where the Y was is another place lost to progress, the post office / community service center. The year is 1905, which was the City of Flint's Golden Jubilee. On June 7th, a parade was held featuring Vice President Charles W. Fairbanks. That same day, a cornerstone was laid for a new federal building and post office, which was completed 2 years later at the southeast corner of Kersey and Harrison Streets. That post office was controversial at that time because many people considered it to be too small in relation to the mail volume at that time. That proved to be true indeed, for in 1931, that post office was moved to a much larger facility at 600 Church Street, which became the federal building, and the United States District Court after the main post office moved to its present location off Robert E. Longway Boulevard around 1960. After the post office moved out, it stood vacant at times. It became the local headquarters for the Works Progress Administration, a Depression-era New Deal agency. After they left, the National Youth Administration moved in. It stood vacant again after they left. The Junior Chamber of Commerce used it briefly as a depot for sending clothing abroad. In 1944, Charles Stewart Mott bought the White Elephant from the federal government for $17,500. It needed a lot of work. In 1948, the Worcester Flint, which was a World War II era relief organization, dissolved itself and donated the surplus funds for the repair and renovation of the old post office. Contractors charged just 55% of what construction would normally cost for renovating what became known as the Community Service Center, housing various agencies funded by the Community Chest, which was later known as the Red Feather Fund and is now known as United Way. It was dedicated on September 28, 1948. But in 1966, the Community Service Center was torn down to make way for a parking ramp and a downtown branch of the Flint Public Library. Taken over by the University of Michigan Flint, it is still used as a parking ramp by the university, with the former library space now occupied by U of M Flint's Engineering Design Studio and Learning Space. Now, those pictures I passed around, when video was produced of tonight's Collab Night, which will be on the Flint Underground channel, as well as on Comcast Channel 17 eventually, Jenny will also insert in the appropriate places those images I've been passing around. And that is my presentation for this month, and I thank you very much.
Thank you.